3 ways that I debrief. I authored a book for the Office of Public Instruction on the implementation of Indian Education for All called The Framework for the Implementation of Indian Education for All. And in the framework, I have created a model for integration. Integration follows these 4 principles. Remember, we talked about how you can't hold 2 ideas simultaneously. It's like a toggle switch. It goes on and off. You cannot hold 2 pieces of content simultaneously in your mind. You're either focused on one or on the other. But you can hold a piece of content in your mind while you exercise reading, writing, talking, problem solving, research, utilization of technology, all these skill sets. In fact, when you do so, it deepens the degree to which the content knowledge goes into long-term memory. And you can contextualize it in any way you can imagine. You can contextualize it through a text, which is what we've just done, a time, a place, a people, a novel, a poem, a song, all can become the context. I use context and manipulate context to do Indian Education for All integration. I am constantly seeking what would the tribal context be and how can I flip it to put that context at the forefront, because I know that our bias will always be toward what we know and understand. I'm a white lady from Missoula. My grandparents were Norwegian immigrants. To Helena, actually, to York, to a little mining enclave outside of Helena. And that's where my mom and my auntie were raised. And so that's the background that I bring to things. I'm centric to that. That makes me Eurocentric. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing about me. When I landed on the Flathead Reservation, I became almost immediately, by virtue of my teaching assignment, Salish-centric, because I was partnered with a Salish elder for the first 3 years of my career to team teach in a bilingual setting. Me in English, her in Salish, me learning Salish, she learning English, with a group of high school students. So then I became Salish-centric. But I don't mean to be. That doesn't mean that I want to not represent Blackfeet people, or Crow people, or Northern Cheyenne people, right? So context is one of the things that I use, and I flip it. And I always try to put the context I'm least familiar with first, because otherwise I'm using the tribal context as an aside. What I love about Montana Stories of the Land as a text is how deeply it places the tribal context, at least at equal footing, even within this narrative. It doesn't get it right every time, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's very rare to see a book that actually tries to do that. So contextually, it's just a thank you. Piece of work. The one that we ignore, excluding our gifted children, is the area of concept. Conceptual understandings can be generalized across disciplines. They are hugely important. The concepts that I've been working with in my own curriculum development right now as a college professor have been the integration of tribal values, and I find that they're all conceptual. Reciprocity, generosity, honesty, skill, quiet and calm. Sometimes they're processes, but very frequently they're concepts. So this is the model that I use for integration. You can do all 4 of these things at once, but you can't do any one of these things simultaneously at the same time, right? But all 4 of them. So here's what we did with what you just experienced. In the essential understandings, which essential understandings were we addressing? History is told from subjective perspective and experience, and it flows through how many federal eras? Including the treaty era, which is the one that we were exploring when we're looking specifically at a treaty as a primary source document. So under context, we're working in these broad areas. Under skill sets, which skill sets did we practice? Did you get to write? Did you have to talk? Did you have to read? Did you have to graphically or otherwise represent in a non-linguistic or semi-non-linguistic form? In a musical form, perhaps. Yeah. Research, interpretation, collaboration, inference, all of the skill sets. And then here was the context I chose, a deep dive into a single primary source document. Now, where am I going with this next? Next, we're going to read the chapter that addresses treaty making. The one that includes, by the way, reference to this treaty. So that's the order in which that I introduce this. So that curiosity is piqued, they've done the deep dive, you've done this huge amount of context building, and they've worked their way through. When we get to the concepts and the big ideas, that is the domain that we have delegated almost exclusively to children in gifted and talented programs. And we deny access to big ideas and conceptual understandings to children who are ordinary or remedial. We have doubled down on tracking.